Man, I love that swivel chair. So, if you're feeling stressed out by life, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're procrastinating a lot, you've got more niggles and injuries than usual, and you're not sleeping as well, and things are just feeling a little bit much, then it's likely that your problems are growing in your mind and that you're able to identify more problems and more things wrong. And it's easy to think when you're seeing all of these problems and seeing all of these external things that need fixing, that the way to solve them is to go out and do more. I understand this. What I want to float by you is the idea that a lot of these problems are just branches on the end of a limb of a tree, and that tree is you. And although these problems seem external, they're just more superficial, but they're still to do with you. It's still to do with how you're showing up in the world, trying to do your thing, trying to train, trying to work, trying to create whatever it is you're doing. But if we flow inward towards the trunk of the tree, what we see is that each one of these problems has a cause. And often multiple problems share the same cause. And if we keep tracing that back, what we see is that these are all symptoms of an ungrounded, unclear, ineffective feeling in the body, which is basically an unregulated nervous system, or a nervous system which is trying very hard to regulate itself but struggling. What is a nervous system and how is it different from you? Well, the nervous system is kind of the expression of you, and it's your feedback system. Your nervous system is what makes you in touch with the world. So anything you're experiencing, in as much as it's part of the nervous system because it's being felt by it, is a part of you. Your problems are a part of you. Your ambitions are a part of you. Your relationships are a part of you. So sometimes it makes more sense to withdraw a little bit for a moment, to pause from trying to solve at this layer and focus instead on this layer. What that looks like is creating space, so to speak, creating time for yourself which will be unfilled. And I realize that sometimes this doesn't make much sense. When you're running around, you have things to do, you're under time pressures, you're under financial pressures, energy has an economy, and productivity is what keeps you safe. It seems counterproductive to do less in order to feel more safe. You would think that by doing less, you'd be less secure because you're not going to bring in the inputs you need. But the truth is that taking this time creates time, because what you're doing is sharpening your attention. With sharpened attention, with stillness of the body, you're able to zoom in on what's important and differentiate that from what's not important. But you don't have to start by just sitting still. You don't have to start by sitting on a meditation cushion and trying to be with your thoughts. Sometimes that is extremely challenging. This is why a lot of people gravitate to things which involve movement, like running, swimming, walking, play. They're all great, right? Because they're giving you a sense of flow, they're giving you a sense of one-pointed focus, and they're helping you withdraw from the superficialities of your problems. What we need, though, is to have a bit of stillness within. We still have to have that intent of being attentive, practicing attention, not just playing or engaging with things to be distracted. Because if we just skim the surface and constantly try and use these techniques or these practices to overlay our problems instead of uprooting them, then we're essentially just adding to what we'll eventually have to uproot and solve. So my suggestion is to integrate some movement or physical practice, I should say, which involves static postures. This is something that I've found really useful over the last month. I've been going through some slightly stressful times in a way, having to process some things, being present to some issues which aren't all my own, but which concern me. And so having stillness practices, e.g. handstands, e.g. horse stance, e.g. Lying down on my back, very simple things where you can gain a physical training stimulus. You can get stronger legs, stronger shoulders, better balance, better conditioning of some kind, open up some joints, but also be still with sensations. Be still with energy as it arises in your body. When I talk about energy arising in the body, I'm specifically referring to either thoughts or discomfort or the pain that happens when your legs burn. Why this is important is because as intensity of experience increases, as things get more challenging, it's equally important that your ability to contain and relax with those experiences increases too. So if you are going through something which makes you feel a lot, you need to be able to calmly ground yourself and relax into that experience so as not to add surplus excitation and chaos and anxiety to it and just make it something which depletes you and draws all of your energy out. You have to know how to sit into, ground into, be with intense experiences and form a sort of container in order to regulate yourself. You can imagine that your body is like a circuit board. You can imagine that the intensity of an experience, whether it is an emotional or mental or physical sensation, is traveling through your circuit board as energy. And if you want to harness that energy and have it be useful and direct it into your own well-being as well as outside into the world, then you need to upgrade your circuitry. You need to upgrade your components, upgrade your parts. Another way of looking at this is if you want to fill your life with things, or if you have ambitions and you want to live and you don't just want to flop over and die, that's like having a fountain of water that's pouring into you. And as quickly as it pours into you, it's going to pour straight out of you unless you have a bucket to contain it. And without that bucket, you never have any energy reserves. As soon as you get something, you get rid of it. As soon as you earn $1, you spend $1. As soon as you sleep well, you the next day you're so overwhelmed that you get on your phone and you run around and stress out and go to bed late. So we need to be able to re-identify with a new feeling of the body, and this new feeling in the body needs to feel like sitting with experience, sitting with energy, ordering, sifting through, containing, sorting energy. And so to have flow, true flow, and not just be distracting yourself, you need structure. To have the ability to be yang and to act with linear, directional, masculine intent, you have to have the feminine container, the yin. You have to have the stillness and order around that. It's not about balancing flow and balancing structure. It's not about balancing yang with yin. If you don't have both, you can't have more energy or more clarity or more grounded effectiveness in the world. And so, practice stillness. It doesn't have to be sitting. It can be standing in something challenging. If you need some physical sensation to help you prime yourself to then be still. Start with something that gives you physical feedback and gradually remove the intensity of the physical feedback by making the position or the posture less intense but still until you can start to work more with your internal subtle movements, e.g. thoughts, feelings. These are more subtle than physical sensations, arguably. The more you work with those, the more you'll feel like your stillness is making things worse, but it's not. It's just bringing things at the root to the surface so you can tend to your inner garden, so that you can uproot the weeds in your inner space.